Stories, Philippines podcast.
A chilling gust of air can sometimes feel like a passing breath from the grave. It brushes the cheek just so, a whisper against the skin, yet it comes in a room sealed tight against the outside world. It carries with it the faint, earthy scent of damp soil and ancient moss, an aroma that suggests not just deep history, but a living, unseen presence. We walk across the land of this archipelago every day, paving over its deep, tangled roots with concrete and hurried intentions. Yet beneath the surface, the original tenants never truly left. They simply learned to wait, to watch, and to make their needs known in ways that defy our modern electric comforts. They are the small ones, the ancient ones, dwellers of the mound of earth, the tiny hill of the termite, the gnarled and quiet roots of the oldest tree. Their patience is endless, their temper, however, is not. When the world shrinks and the human noise grows, the clash between the seen and the unseen becomes inevitable. A child's innocent curiosity, a construction worker's careless shovel, a teenage act of petty rage. These small trespasses against the earth can unleash a ripple of consequence that pulls the victim far deeper than they ever intended to go, right into the silent, gold-flecked, subterranean courts of the ancient landlord. A darkness permeates this episode, touching on scenes and themes some may find profoundly disturbing. Listeners' discretion is not merely advised, it is vital. I am Paul, and you're listening to Stories Philippines podcast. The deep cultural fear of the small ones, the elemental beings of the earth, is not unique to the Philippines. Globally, these spirits of the soil occupy a curious space between the playful sprite and the malicious goblin. In Ireland, the leprechaun guards a pot of gold he may grant or curse you for. In Germany, the kobold is a house spirit who can be helpful or terribly vengeful if disrespected. Yet, the duwende, and specifically the Nuno Saponso or elder of the ant hill, possesses a unique power rooted in the very concept of lupa, the land. It is a primal fear of territoriality, a respect for an existence that precedes all human memory and architecture. The belief in these entities is a form of deep-seated ancestral land right, a subtle, constant reminder that you are a guest in the landscape, not the owner. The Spanish-Argentine conquest, spanning hundreds of years, attempted to flatten all these vibrant, complicated beliefs under the weight of a singular, organized faith. They succeeded on the surface, raising churches from stone and concrete, but they could not root out the primal dread of the forest floor, the old mango tree, or the neglected corner where the earth humps into a strange, inexplicable mound. This mound, the punso, is the duende's palace, an unassuming protrusion of soil and termite clay that serves as a boundary marker for an unseen civilization. To step on it, to kick it, or to desecrate it is not merely an accident. It is an act of war. Consider the story from Rhine, relayed from the mother of a co-worker named Ed, a tale rooted in the province of Capiz. This area, famous for its abundant seafood and deeply shadowed by folklore of flying, nocturnal monsters, also holds space for the small, silent spirits of the earth. In this account, a young girl, perhaps 9 years old, finds herself outdoors, merely seeking a cool breeze. The innocence of a child is a crucial element in these stories. They are pure of intent, yet often the first to cross a line of which they have no knowledge. The girl sees a punso, a small, innocent-looking hill of earth. What child would not approach a miniature, mysterious mountain right outside their door? She approaches it and she plays. The grandmother, the figure of cultural memory and caution, sees this. She warns the child. But childhood's exuberance often triumphs over a whispered command, and the daily visits to the small hill continue. Here, the consequences begin to manifest, not as a sudden fright, but as a slow internal deterioration. The girl develops a breathing affliction, an acute asthma, which the family attributes to the natural external world, perhaps the smoke from her father's welding trade. The doctors cannot find a clear cause, a typical pattern in Nuno cases. The ailment refuses to be named by science. It is the grandmother who finally recognizes the pattern, diagnosing the cause not as an illness, but as a consequence of trespass. The remedy is ancient, non-negotiable, and ritualistic, an offering to appease the insulted duende. When the grandmother performs the necessary rite, the sickness vanishes with the same suddenness with which it arrived. The child recovers, is scolded, and the balance is restored. This narrative highlights the essential contract between the human and the elemental. Respect, ritual, and immediate appeasement are the only currencies that matter. Ignoring the warning only serves to deepen the penalty. The dwellings of the duende are often described as grand in the extreme, but the only people who truly see them are those who have been invited, or tragically, those who are already on the way to being lost. The experience shared by Emski, relayed through her aunt from the province of Samar, takes us directly into one of these hidden realms. In her youth, Emski's aunt lived in the mountainous, forested terrain of Samar. She was a child engrossed in play and thus unburdened by adult cynicism. A boy approaches her, remarkably handsome, but with two peculiar features: long, pronounced ears and no indentation beneath his nose. The vertical groove called the philtrum on human faces. The lack of this groove, an almost imperceptible detail, is a frequent sign of a being from the other side, an entity crafted outside the normal course of human creation. The boy knows her name in unsettling intimacy and invites her to a celebration hosted by his parents. The lure is strong for a child, a feast, a party, an escape from the ordinary. The journey ends not in a grand house, but at a familiar earthen mound, a punso. The boy asks her to close her eyes, a moment of transition and ritual, and when she opens them, the world has changed entirely. She is inside a landscape of spectacular wealth, a palace gleaming with gold, adorned with strange, beautiful fruits, and filled with people in richly colored, elaborate clothing, all with the distinctive, long ears. They greet the boy as a prince, establishing his royal lineage within this hidden subterranean kingdom. This vision of Bergensini, or Arab city as it is sometimes called in whispers, is expanded upon in the reflective submission of the anonymous person from Samar. This writer, who refers to the place as Mahaniha, offers an analytical perspective, a kind of modern-day cultural translator. They insist the place is not the high-rise, luxurious city of modern myth, nor is it a pure paradise. They clarify a key distinction. The Encanto, the grander, more powerful spirits of Biringan, are different from the Lamang Lupa, the earth dwellers like the Kapre Tikbalang or Nuno Sapunso. The Encanto, they say, are not inherently malevolent. They are not murderers. They are a parallel civilization who value a deeper form of energy, air, and sun, and discourage technology, not out of ignorance, but choice. They invite mortals, not just the pure-hearted, but those who can help them in some way, and in return, they offer prosperity. The writer suggests a profound historical breach, that in ancient times, the Encanto coexisted and even taught humanity a more harmonious way of life, an original path to a nirvana-like society. The greed of humankind, the relentless quarrying for minerals, the felling of ancient trees, forced the Mahaniha residents to conceal their city. Now they use spells and kalinata or shifting guardians to keep their portals hidden. Back in Emski's aunt's experience, the invitation to the royal palace becomes a proposal of marriage. The king, the Duende sovereign, asks if she will marry his son. She is confused, terrified, and overwhelmed, finally saying she must go home. The child is hurt and the king presents her with a choice. 3 golden bowls, each containing a different colored salt, red, blue, or green. Red meant marriage and endless gold, but never returning to the human world. Blue meant marriage, a return home, but an eventual, final recall to the Duende realm. Green meant she would return home forever, never to be harassed again, but with an unspoken consequence. She chooses green, the color of freedom and the earth, and is sent back. The unspoken consequence, the narrative leaves lingering, is the cost of absolute freedom from a power that does not forget. This idea of a supernatural courtship and the terror of a sudden forced maturity is a common thread in folklore. It is the story of the innocent human snatched away to the fairy realm only to return years later having aged only a day or not at all. The trauma of this experience, however, is lasting. The line between the playful mischief of the duende and outright menace is thin, often dependent on the trespass committed. The stories of John and Mia paint a picture of deliberate disrespect yielding immediate, severe physical and psychological reaction. John, a first-year high school student, allows the common, crushing human experience of intense hunger and frustration to become a catalyst for a terrible act. Starving and angry that no one has brought lunch, the teenager strikes out in rage, repeatedly hitting a Nuno sa punso. The mound, the quiet earthen home, becomes the target of a profound, visceral disrespect. The retribution is swift. Within half an hour, John loses all sense of self, described by relatives as having eyes that burn, turning blood red. A violent episode of possession follows, marked by an unsettling detail: the nails turning completely black. The entity does not simply possess, it leaves a demonic physical signature. The family is forced to call a priest and later an albularyo, a folk healer. The duende is revealed to be a male with horns, a dark, infernal manifestation of what many believe to be a harmless earth sprite. John's body bears the brunt of the experience, covered in bruises and soreness upon waking. The entity was not merely seeking revenge, it was seeking ownership, a common theme when physical damage is done to their home. Mia's experience echoes this idea of direct trespass and measured punishment. As a 7th grader, the act was not solitary but part of a group. Mia and 3 friends were playing, and in a moment of youthful foolishness, they decided to throw stones and kick a punso. Mia admits to being the ringleader. The consequence is devastating, a mouthful of painful sores, 22 in total. Eating and even speaking become a torment, a pain Mia describes as agonizing, endured in tears. The albularyo is consulted, performing a ritual involving oil on paper. The apparition that forms is a small, red, intensely angry figure, confirming the source of the ailment. Interestingly, the punishment is singular. Only Mia, the instigator, is afflicted. The duende operates with a chilling sense of justice, targeting the one responsible. The eventual healing comes only after an act of humility and offering, purchasing fruit and pleading forgiveness from the unseen entity. The episode lasts for months, marking a crucial, life-altering period, and leaves the survivor with a deep, lifelong respect for the small, powerful beings of the earth. If you have a story of an encounter that blurred the lines between the seen and the unseen, a moment when the veil was thinnest, we want to hear it. Submit your stories to our email, storiesphpodcast@gmail.com. The most intimate and perhaps most terrifying encounters occur when the duende chooses to insert itself into the life of a human through friendship, a relationship that always comes with a heavy price. This dynamic is perfectly captured in the experiences of 2 individuals, the anonymous Emski's aunt in the Golden Palace, and more acutely, a person who goes by the name Prinsesa, whose lifelong connection to an elemental being named Jose began in a vacant lot. Prinsesa describes herself as a child prone to being visited by unseen entities, though she never saw them, at least not consciously. At 7 years old, she meets Jose in a vacant lot containing a fruitful mango tree and an old treehouse. They play like any children, with Barbies and toy cars. Jose is described as a teenage boy, tall for her, dark-skinned, with brownish eyes and a beautiful smile. He is a constant companion in her otherwise lonely childhood. The first crack in the illusion comes when her mother picks her up, finding Prinsesa laughing hysterically alone. Jose is a clear, visible presence to Prinsesa, yet her mother sees nothing but empty air. Prinsesa describes her friend and Encanto in a perfect, charming human form. The rift truly begins when Prinsesa grows up. Adulthood brings high school, responsibilities, and the simple fact that she is no longer a child who has time for play. When she is a teenager, she comes home alone to find Jose waiting in the living room. She speaks to him with the casual cruelty of a newly busy adolescent. I'm busy. I don't play anymore. I'm a young woman now. Jose is furious and leaves. The next consequence is an insidious, week-long high fever that refuses medical explanation, spiking every evening and receding only in the morning. Her parents, suspecting the supernatural, consult a folk healer who performs a ritual of tawas, using candle wax and water which forms the shape of a young man. Her mother suddenly remembers the invisible playmate. They confront the vacant lot, loudly commanding the minion of darkness to leave their daughter alone. Princesa sees Jose standing near the mango tree, his eyes burning with resentment, but he offers a smile, a terrifying and unnatural one. He whispers his promise, his ultimate victory over her. I will forgive you now, but I will make sure you do not forget me. You will be with me for the rest of your life. The fever breaks, but Jose is gone, leaving behind a profound and lasting scar, the permanent unhealing sense of a presence, a bond that cannot be broken. It is a haunting that is more psychological than physical, a promise of eternal surveillance. The duende's manifestation is often dictated by the need of the moment. They are not merely small people. They are energy capable of taking many forms. The strange and unsettling episode shared by the user PNB revolves around a bizarre artifact, a colorful children's book discovered beneath a bookshelf, a relic no one in the house can recall owning. The book is old, its pages frayed and yellowed, yet its contents are shockingly precise. A comprehensive guide to Filipino monsters, from the Mambabarang to the Nuño sa Punso. The book, seemingly designed to captivate a child with its bright illustrations and short verses, details the appearance, habitat, and, most disturbingly, the weakness and method of killing each entity. This is a profound paradox. A text that should be kept secret is presented in the inviting, accessible format of a nursery rhyme. It is as if the entity itself is attempting to familiarize a particular child with the rules of its world, offering a corrupted form of knowledge. The book vanishes as soon as the reader falls asleep, a classic trait of the otherworldly object, an item that exists only for a moment of revelation, serving a mysterious, unstated purpose before being recalled to its dimension. The case of the user, who identifies himself only as EMS18, touches on a different form of spectral interaction, the switch. Waking in the middle of the night, their father, checking on them in the room next to the boys' quarters, finds them sleeping beside a small, bald boy whom he mistakenly assumes is the youngest brother. He leaves them to sleep. His confusion only registers when he checks the boys' room and finds the youngest brother sleeping soundly and not bald at all. A rush back to the first room confirms the fear. The user is now alone. The unseen companion, a probable duende known to occupy one of the 12 punsos surrounding the house and another one under the siblings' bed, had vanished. The small bald boy was not a human child, but a temporary replacement, a stand-in intended to confuse, or, in the darker tradition, a signal that the real child had been temporarily taken. The fear of being taken and replaced with a log or a sickly changeling is a core dread in many cultures, and the bald child in the dark room is a stark manifestation of this ancient anxiety. This is a crucial moment for our listeners to find out more. Find show notes and support options in the description. The tale of the duende can also become entangled with the greater, more powerful encanto. And the grandest of these figures is brought into focus by the user who goes by Mikamio, whose account is filtered through the experiences of Mama Kix, a family matriarch. The family lives in a home in Region 4A, built near a massive, towering malunggay tree whose trunk rivals a utility pole in size and right beside a Nuno sa Punso. The home, they discover, is a nexus for a family of encanto, a father, mother, older sister, and younger sister, described as having pale skin and wearing white. The family is friendly and acts as a kind of spectral guardian for the human residents. The younger sister, the most mischievous, leaves physical evidence of her presence. She is the one who scattered flowers, yellow bells specifically, up the stairs, a bewildering sight for the human occupants. The older sister, more reserved, stands watch near the corner of the staircase. This Encanto family is drawn to the human family's happiness, their togetherness. A visiting folk healer, Manjose, confirms their presence and describes the father of the Encanto family after chasing him to the large tree as a protector who has instructed his children to keep their distance from the human world. They are not malicious, they are simply curious and attracted to the warmth of a loving human home. But the most potent and dangerous association, the one with the highest stakes, is brought forth by the user who introduces the story of Haring Dionisio. Haring Dionisio, a Duende king, first reveals himself to the user's father, a man who, though brave against spectral manifestations like floating coffins and flaming orbs, is a magnet for the elemental. In Manila, the father buys a house with a mango tree and a five-finger tree, beneath which is the Nuno Sapunso, the home of the king. The relationship begins as petty mischief, the Duende family stealing and then returning the father's possessions after a verbal command. Their bond follows the father even overseas. The king's presence becomes a central terror when the user, a child of 4 or 5, sees the king himself, a small green-clad man with a black belt, pointed brown shoes, a long chin, and a pointed green hat. The child points him out next to the television, but the mother cannot see him. Soon after, the child develops a horrible, unhealing wound on the arm. The mother's dream reveals the cause. The child had accidentally bumped into one of the king's children while they were playing near the punso. The child was punished for the accidental trespass. The final confrontation occurs in another dream, where the mother is led by Haring Dionisio into his hidden golden kingdom inside the punso. The king offers an ultimate bargain. Everything you see will be yours, endless riches and gold, but in exchange for your child. The mother refuses. The family is forced to perform the ultimate act of expulsion, an offering of a white chicken, its blood poured around the mound, prayers offered, and finally, the destruction of the punso. The mound is leveled and the ailment leaves the child, leaving behind only a scar. The experience is over, but the king's existence is etched into the child's skin. The Duende is a deeply spiritual entity that represents the constant clash between progress and tradition, between science and faith. The psychological interpretation of these encounters points to the fear of the unknown, the manifestation of collective trauma, and the human need to attribute unexplained phenomena like sudden illness, missing objects, or sleep paralysis to an external, willful force. The belief in a small, mischievous spirit that can be appeased with offerings or enraged by disrespect is a way of creating a moral framework for chaos. It is a social contract that demands respect for the environment, for the earth, and for the wisdom of the elders. In the stories, we see the full spectrum of this fear: the silent, naked exposure of the women in the Bicol house with the indoor punso, the uninvited physical intimacy of an entity capable of removing clothing without a sound, the terror of the young girl in Pangasinan who calls out to her unseen friend Gil near the punso, the unnerving presence felt by the boarders in the old house with the ancient tree, and the pure primal fear of the small boy in the dark who suddenly finds himself in an ancient golden ballroom, being drawn away from his human life forever. The common denominator is a profound violation of personal space and physical autonomy. In the end, the Duende is not merely a Filipino ghost story, it is a narrative about boundaries. It is a reminder that the land is old and it has a memory, and it has owners whose existence predates our own. They watch from the corner of a ruined structure, the darkness of a giant tree, or the innocent-looking dirt mound beside the road. They are a civilization of ancient power, and their customs demand absolute deference. To forget them is not a mark of modernity, it is an invitation for disaster. They are the children of the unseen, and we are merely the noisy guests on their soil. You can access exclusive content on Patreon to hear more stories of the unseen world. Also, follow us on social media for daily folklore facts. The tales are told, the warnings issued, and the gold of the hidden kingdom remains just beneath the thin skin of the earth. But what happens to the land when the Duende's home is destroyed? Does the spirit truly leave, or does it simply relocate, waiting for the next opportunity to remind the trespassers of their unforgivable arrogance? The most powerful spirits are not those who thunder from the heavens, but those who speak in a whisper from the ground beneath your feet. Do not forget to like, subscribe, follow, and share this podcast with friends, family, and anyone who enjoys stories and folklore. If you found today's episode meaningful or entertaining, please leave a rating and a short review. It helps other listeners find us. You can also support the podcast financially in ways listed in the show notes. Consider becoming a monthly patron, buying a merch item, tipping through the platform links, or sharing our donation page. Every bit of support keeps the microphones on, research going, and new episodes coming. If you enjoyed this episode, help us grow the community by telling others about it on social media, joining our listener group, or recommending an episode to someone who loves myths, culture, or supernatural tales. Your word of mouth is one of the most powerful ways to keep this show alive. Thank you so much for tuning in, for spending your time with us, and for the thoughtful messages and questions you've sent. They mean a lot. We'll be back with more stories, interviews, and explorations of folklore, history, and the strange and beautiful corners of human imagination. Until then, take care, stay curious, and keep an open heart. Would you like to hear more about other Filipino elemental beings? For example, the kapre, the tikbalang, or lesser-known spirits from different regions? Tell us which creatures or local legends you want covered next, and we'll dive into their stories in an upcoming episode. Goodbye for now.